Hey there, it's Ann Poirier from Shaping Perspectives, and I am going to share something with you today that I created a couple of weeks ago, and it is called the NYSER method to intuitive eating. It's kind of a guide to intuitive eating and a way, kind of like a cheat sheet, a way that that can help you choose the foods that you're going to eat. Because we eat for two reasons, right? We eat for two different specific reasons. One is for nourishment and fuel, and the other one is for pleasure. And so how do we combine? They're both equally important. So how do we combine that? And that's what intuitive eating is about. So this method came about due to a conversation that I had with a client when we were talking about taking away the words good and bad when it comes to foods, like really disconnecting those words from our food choices. And so as we had this conversation, we came up with a couple of different other ways to think about it. And then from that conversation, I came up with this NYSER method. So I want to share it with you. If you would like a copy, just comment below and we'll make sure to get you one. So the NYSER is spelled N-Y-S-E-R, and the N stands for nourishment. So when we think about foods that nourish our bodies, there's three different types of macronutrients: proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. They're all essential in the functioning of our bodies. Vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, the nourishment value of food. So when we look at foods are kind of on this continuum when it comes to how much they're going to give our bodies what they need. On one side of the continuum, foods that are coming directly from a plant source. So there's very little processing or very little steps that it takes to come from the farm or the garden to the grocery store. So it just gets picked and put on a truck and brought to the grocery store, versus something that has a series of steps. Say a piece of bread is going to have a series of steps. So we're going to get the wheat, and then you're going to process the wheat, and then it's going to go through the different steps to actually create the bread that we buy in the supermarket. So this nourishment piece is, where does it lie on this continuum, and what does it give to our bodies as far as the nourishing factor of foods? So that's the N. Why we combined with the N, right? So this is we want to write down this list. Why is the yumminess factor? How does it taste? Does the food taste good to you? I know for many years, I would eat foods that I didn't even like, or I would eat a food that I didn't like just because it was put in front of me, or because I thought I had to, in order to show somebody love, that I loved them. I would eat whatever the food was. So the yumminess factor is choosing foods that taste good to you and noticing as you eat them, do they continue to taste good to you? Because what happens, something called sensory specific satiety, when we're eating something that has a distinct flavor, like salty or sweet, something that's a little bit bitter, sour, kind of our major taste buds in our mouth, our bodies actually get kind of used to it. They get sensitized. So the flavor gets different over time as you're eating. So if you have a big slice of cake, the first few bites might be delicious. Fourth and fifth bites might be really, really good. 10th and 11th bites might not even taste as good as the first, 4 or 5 bites. So to really notice how foods taste as you eat them. So that's the yumminess factor. Third, we have satisfaction. We know through intuitive eating, if we choose foods that we should have versus what we would like to have, there becomes a deprivation effect that happens from that. The example I would use is if you were to go to a restaurant and you chose, you're looking at the menu and you see what you really would like, then you also see what you should have. Over and over and over again, I hear from clients, and I've done it myself. Whenever I choose or they choose what they should have, when they get home, they're feeling deprived and they're foraging in the kitchen, trying to find something else to satisfy them, versus choosing what you want and then coming home fully satisfied and not, food isn't in your thought process at all. So the satisfaction factor of foods, how does it feel in my body after I eat it? It should be comfortable, and I should feel satisfied with what I've eaten. Not overly full, not stopping before I'm full. So we have, so far, nourishment. We have what's in the foods. How's it going to nourish our bodies? How does it taste? Does it taste good? Is it satisfying? Does it satisfy me? Am I satisfied after the meal? And a good cue to that is, an hour after the meal or 30 minutes after the meal, are you still thinking about food? If you're still thinking about food 30 minutes, an hour after you've just eaten something, look back, kind of connect the dots and see if you were satisfied with the meal. Did it have what you needed? Satisfaction can also be crunch factor or chewiness factor or hot or cold. So it could be something that your body wants or that you'd like to make sure you have. So sometimes for me, I have kind of a crunch need or something that I'm able to chew on a little bit. So a soup isn't always a satisfying meal for me until I have something that I can actually chew or crunch on with it. Then it becomes a satisfying meal. So I hope that I explain that a little bit better. E, we move to energy. So thinking about when we choose foods to eat, what's happening later in our day. If I'm having lunch at 12:30 and I know that I've got a really busy afternoon and I won't be eating anything until after 5, say I want to make sure that I'm getting enough nutrients, enough yumminess, enough satisfaction, but enough food to fuel me for my afternoon. If I'm eating at 12:30 and I can have a snack at 3, I might not necessarily choose the exact same thing. The choice might be a little different. I want to make sure I have the energy that food provides for us for what I have going on the rest of the day. That can be kind of linked to satisfaction too. But it's important to realize when we're eating foods or when we're choosing foods, what's happening the rest of our day. If I'm hungry at 8 o'clock at night, I might choose a food that is a little bit lighter because I don't need anything that's heavy because I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to be going to bed, but I want something in my stomach so that I'm not waking up, my body's not waking me up hungry, in the middle of the night. So I might choose something that's a little bit lighter for me to have in the evening, some nuts or a piece of cheese or something like that, versus a sandwich or a bowl of oatmeal or something like that. So just ways to think about the energy that you'll be utilizing post-meal. And then finally, we have the R, and the R is reaction. How do foods respond and react in your body physically? Certain foods may make you feel lethargic, foggy, unfocused. They may have you running to the bathroom, burping or gassy. Other foods provide you energy and focus, are comfortable in the body. There's not any stomach distress. They're easily digestible. So how does food respond and react in your body physically after you eat? So that's the R. nourishment, yumminess, satisfaction of foods, energy provided, reaction in the body. Gives you a method to intuitive eating that becomes a little bit easier to grasp. What does my food look like according to this NYSER method of choosing foods? So I hope that you got a little bit of information on what I have developed as the NYSER method to intuitive eating. Please share comments. Love to hear any comments that you have. If you try it, how's it working? What might be missing? Love to just hear how it's going for you. So signing off, Ann Poirier, the NYSER method to intuitive eating.